Okay, this video is a demonstration of the Spire Integrated Business Management System. We're going to go through each of the modules, and at this point we're going to start out by showing you how easy it is to convert a database to Spire. Open up the server icon. So on your server, you would simply launch this part of the program, hit create or add existing company, choose the company you're going to import. I've got one called Rental here. You point to the BBCon file in BusinessVision, give it a database name. We'll just call this Rental. Click OK. Put in the password for the database itself, so the database engine. Click OK. Then what it does is it's migrating the data file by file, field for field, from the BusinessVision pervasive data to the Spire database, and then, of course, we don't want to keep the same database, so we convert that database over to our own table names, one by one, file by file, field by field, and all the data is converted, every bit of data that you've entered into your system at any given time throughout the time you've been using BusinessVision. So that was easy. A very small database, of course. That was done in less than a minute. And I can log into that database now with Spire with all the data intact. Larger databases can take longer. Average is kind of 20 minutes, half hour. The largest one we've done takes just under 2 hours. So, all right. So I'm going to now launch into the program so we can have a look what it looks like. Okay, once you've got your data converted, you can simply use your same username and password, or if you're a new user and you weren't using another system before and you're brand new to Spire, you've created an empty new database, you can log in with the password you created for yourself. Click on, and the first thing that's going to happen, and any of you that are using Essentials today will know this screen, the alert screen. You've assigned yourself some tasks, and the ones that are overdue show up on this screen, so you can now follow them up. So I'm supposed to repeat this order for this customer, call a customer about a new manager, call Jason about a quote, and so on. So I can look at these, edit them, and then go straight to my communication section here and see what I'm supposed to have followed up. So in this case, I've got a sale, a quote. I'm supposed to call Bob. If I double-click it, I see call Bob about this quote, but if I hit Open Related, it pops open the quote itself, and not only do I view this, I can edit it, I can add to it, I can invoice it from here, process it, whatever I need to do. So I don't have to go elsewhere in the program to do this. Okay. If it's a customer, I click on it, Open Related, it actually opens up the customer itself, and I can look at the customer, their open sales orders, their pricing, their price history, anything like that. And accounts receivable, same thing here. I can click on that, hit Open Related, and go directly from there to the accounts receivable to see what it is I need to do about collecting from that particular customer. Okay, so that's the pop-up that starts right away with that communication that pops up. As you can see here, we've got our modules that I talked about earlier: sales, accounts receivable, accounts payable, customers, inventory, requisitions. Requisitions is if you haven't been using Essentials already, something new would be something new for you. It basically allows you to order product but not place POs for it. So based on shortages in your inventory or special orders from your customer, you send it to a requisition first, then together you look at all the products you need to be ordered, and you can put it all on one common purchase orders when you create those when you're ready to create them. You got vendors, purchase orders, purchase history, sales history, price matrix, the communication we looked at, and general ledger. Okay, so let's have a look at our lists first of all. So what happens here, I go into a list. I'm just going to bring up one I call My Lists. Oh, sorry, here. Go into My View. So I've got this view that I've set up. Notice that I've got these indented here. I can create my own custom views, and I've created one where I've got my top customers here. I've got my year-to-date sorted by my year-to-date sales, so I see all my best customers at the top. I see their contact information, what they owe me right now. If they've got open orders in the system at this point, and how much they're worth, what their last invoice was, year-to-date sales, last year's sales, GP this year, last year, and then other columns I've got turned off. So I've got a bunch of them turned off here that I don't need to see on a day-to-day basis, but if I need to add them, I can do so. So I want to add in the city they're in, I can go ahead and turn on the city as well. So you'll see that all of our columns are completely customizable, and you can turn them on as you wish, and you can move them as you wish. If you want to move a column over here, it doesn't affect anybody else, just your own screen. Okay. We can also do searches. So within the list, I can search. I can just type TR, and it jumps down to trade company here. Or I can go over to the phone number, and I can type in 604 and find a phone number. If it, the more you know of that number, the more it comes up. So as you type it, it finds the customer. Or if it's the contact, if I type in a contact name, I type in, say, Jason. So Jason, and it finds Jason here, or a number of Jasons in this case, or two of them. So I can find the customer any way I want. Okay. This search up here is not meant for searching columns like we just did there. I know you're used to clicking up on the top here if you're using BusinessVision and doing the searches either by name or by code. This search up here allows you to search it any way you want. So if I type in Toronto, and then I type in, say, John, then I got two of them like that. But if, let's just find one that's got less. Okay, let's just leave Toronto only. If I don't want any of my customers with the word print in it, I can type in minus print, P-R-I-N-T, and it takes out any customers with the word print in it. If I want to take out the word service, I can type in the word minus service, and it takes out service. For those of you using Essentials, this wasn't available in Essentials itself, but it is in Spire. You can also use OR now. If I type in the word OR, I can add in the word Vancouver. So if I type V-A-N-C-O-V-E-R, now I get Toronto and Vancouver, but nobody with the word print or service in their name. And I can hit the word and on here, and I can put ands and ors and all these combinations. So it's really, truly taken our search to a whole new level, kind of like a Google type search. We wouldn't ever call it a Google search, of course, legally, but it is like that. It searches everything in the database. It even searches notes inside the customer. So if I put a word in my customer for collections or something, I can type in a word to find that from up in here, and it'll draw down just those customers with that note in them. Okay. Creating those filters. So if I go back to my filter that I've set, or some of my filters, this one here that I had on customers, where I called it My Customer View, doesn't have any filter set, but this one has a filter set where the year-to-date sales is greater than $10,000. And all I did to do that was click this filter button and then hit plus and add it in filters. So if I want to add to this filter, where I say where the city contains TOR, then here is a list of customers where the year-to-date sales is greater than 10,000 contains the city TOR. And I can again save this as a new name if I wish as well. Okay, but if I click back on my filter, I see this list here. So I've got just a list of customers over 10,000. This is the list of customers with open orders. So the filter says open orders is not 0. So this is right now anybody that has an order in the system with me. Great for taking this list and exporting it out if you need to have a list or a total of all this. Or a customer email list. So let's show you another feature here. I've created one where the year-to-date sales is greater than 0 and their email is not blank. So I do have an email address for them. And maybe I want to add in the contact name here as well. So I add my main contact, and I want to put that right there. And I want to sort this by the customer code. And now I want to export this list, and I want to give it to an outside company for producing an email or a newsletter or something. So I can simply hit my export button, and I'll just hit save. It remembered my name from last time I did this, so it's hit save. I'll replace the file I already have. Click the open. It opens Excel, and nicely laid out in the exact same order as I did up in here, same sort order, same columns, everything shows up here exactly the same way, and it even locks the top column so that header column is all locked if you scroll through a bigger list. So very nice. It basically really eliminates the need for a lot of reports, because in a lot of cases, I close the whole program. In a lot of cases, I just want to actually only see on screen what I from my the data, so top customers or something like that, and not see or print off the data and waste paper on it, or even have the preview on screen that for data that I just want to have a quick look at. Okay, so I'll log back in again there, and go back to my customer list here. We also allow you to run reports from this list. So if I just need to, say, print a statement for my top customers here, one with the highest balance, so I want to do some collections here of the highest amounts here, I can highlight my top customers here, my top balance, hit the print button, choose account statement. I can print an envelope as well, so I can print them both, and they'll print off in the same order and just stuff the envelope. I'll just preview that. There's my first statement. I'll just go to view this whole page. First, second, third, fourth, there's my statement. Print it off. I can also email those, of course. A lot of you are emailing your statements now. So if I hit the print button and I choose account statement, I choose email, I can choose my billing contact for my customer, and then choose a template. So let's choose statement. So what it does here, and you can even have the template have a subject, so I can just type in statement from Inspire. Yeah. And then if I hit save, that remembers that when I recall it. So if I cancel that and I hit print again and I hit email, then I choose that statement. I'll choose my billing, choose my statement, and now it remembered the word statement from Inspire in my template. You can customize these however you wish. Okay, so that's emailing. Printing is the same way of any reports. If you want to highlight this and you've got a report, or you have a custom report derived from the customer list, I can hit the print and your custom reports will show up in here, and you can go ahead and print or email those out. Okay, a couple more reasons to have filters. So in inventory, you'll see I've got some here for inventory. So I've got one called items not sold in 2 years. So in this case, I got a template set where this year's units sold is 0, last year's units sold is 0, and my on hand is not 0. So this is inventory that I've got stock, but I haven't sold any for 2 years. So I might want to put this stuff on special to try and get rid of it. So easy to do. I simply highlight all the items, hit the edit button, and that brings up what we call a group edit. And I can now say change the color of these items because I want them to stand out on my list. So I'll give them a red and yellow color. And I want to set the margin of them to 20% margin so it blows them out at a cheaper cost. Hit the save button, and then the sell prices got changed to 20%, and those items colors just changed. So if I now go to my inventory list, you'll see all my items that I want to blow out are in color. So really easy to spot them. And then if I put those on a sales order or a purchase order, they'll show up as well. So on a sales order, if they show up, I can make sure I tell my customer that I'm probably not going to have stock on these for long. I haven't sold any for a while, so if you want to buy some extras. And then if they show up on a purchase order in color like this, you certainly want to be thinking about whether you should be ordering them or not, because you haven't actually sold any for a couple of years and you did have some stock on them as well. Okay. So other things we can group edit. If I hit the edit button, I can change the type of inventory from physical to non-physical, if there's no stock, that is, the product codes it belongs into, the sales department, the customs and the country of origin, the customs code and country of origin, the vendor you buy it from, the reorder point, the duty percentage, and the freight percentage, which, by the way, you can set on the inventory ahead of time if you know those. And basically, you obviously can't change things like on-hand quantity, things like that, but it would allow you to change items that might be common that you want to edit altogether. Okay. Other reasons: needs ordering. This is all items, so this is a list of all my items in stock that I need to order. So why? Well, because it's got a suggested quantity filter set here of is not equal to 0, which means, and there's a column on here called suggested quantity right there, that is a calculated field. That's not a field that's in the database itself. But what it does, it takes committed, so if you've got them on a sales order or in production or something like that, if you're running production orders, or if it's back order to a customer, it adds those two together. It also adds in reorder points if you want to keep some stock for yourself. Then it subtracts what you've already got in stock. It subtracts what you've already got on order from your supplier, and then rounds it up to the minimum order quantity from your supplier and gives you that suggested quantity. So now, very simple, I've got a list of items that need ordering. I can do it all together if I wish. You see the vendor is set on the item here already. Hit the requisition button, pops up this list. This could be hundreds of items long. We do allow you to edit before you create POs for it. You can now change quantities if you know for a fact that you've got some orders coming in for these. You want to up the quantity on that, because the computer can only know what the human doesn't. So if somebody's verbally told you something, of course the computer doesn't know that, or the software doesn't know that, so you might want to bump up that quantity. You may want to change the vendor, so this particular vendor doesn't have stock on it, so you may want to change vendor to a different vendor, so you can look up a new vendor. As you're talking to the vendor, you're getting your new pricing, so you can key that in at this point. If you just hit the save button, all it does is it puts it into this requisition table over here, which you can recall this anytime you want, along with other products you may have in requisition. But if you'd like to go ahead right now and place these orders, I just hit the process button. It creates all the POs for the items, stamps the PO number on it. Notice that these ones here are the same PO number because they're from the same vendor, and puts them all together, and then it looks for an open purchase order if there already is one there. And if there's not, then it creates another new PO, or there is a company setting you can make it so that it adds a new PO every time you invoke the requisition. And I'll show you in sales order how we can do special requisitions as well. Okay. Negative inventory in hand. I don't know. I'm hoping that most of you don't allow your inventory to go negative. You set that flag where you're not allowed to go negative, but sometimes people do turn it on, and you want to have a look to make sure you adjust all these ahead of time, or as they go negative, you can fix them or keep an eye on them as to why they're going negative. Maybe you haven't got some receiving you haven't done, or maybe you sold the wrong product. You can check that all here as well. Okay, sales orders. You've got our sales history. You've got items that may have gotten invoiced in the past that have back orders on them. So you want to check to see all items that have got a back order quantity, that had a back order quantity at the time they were invoiced, so you can see how good your fulfillment level is. And you can have print off reports on that from here as well then. Okay, all right, so that's kind of enough about orders, about filters and such. But as you can see, we don't have to print a lot in our program because you can see things on screen very quickly and easily, and you do not have to waste paper or even waste your time to print off a bunch of reports that chug away. You've got that information instantly on your screen. Okay, just a quick look inside of a customer. I'll just pick Jackson here. If I go into Jackson, we see that we have all their demographic information, their addresses. They've got multiple locations. You've got that set here. Their order defaults, the tax levels you've got them set for. Their special pricing is listed here under price matrix. Their sales history, so there's all the invoices they've done with us in the past, including detailed versions of it. So I want to sort by part number. I can see every item and what price they paid for it each time. I can see that all right here. I can look at open sales orders. So this is all their open orders. Not only can I look at them, I can go ahead and open it up and edit and change and add to it, print it, email it, invoice it, all from within inside the customer. In Spire, we don't make you go to other places in the program after you've found the data you're looking for. There's no writing down a number or writing down or printing off a report and then going to another part of the program to find or print the information you want out. It's all listed right here, including the receivables tab. Not only do we show you the receivables, if you want to take a payment from your customer in here, you simply go ahead and tick them and make the payments from here. I'll go into more details on the receivables module shortly. So that's kind of looking inside of a customer. There's the communication we talked about earlier, where there's a note on this particular customer. They've got an alert. In this case, it says make sure no invoice is over 60 days, and I'll show you what happens there when we do a sales order to that customer. Okay, we'll just close that one off and have a quick look inside of an inventory item. And again, on inventory, that search capability is all here. I can search columns. I can search words in inventory. I can search inside the extended description for an item, the notes I've got on an item, multiple word searches, pluses and minuses and ors, all included in here. We wouldn't add more detail on customers, so I won't go over that with you again here. But let's have a look at items in the system. So let's find one that we've actually made some sales on. So I can go to here. If I look over here on the side, I can see where I've made unit sales. So this year's sales, and I go into this item here, and I've got sales here. So look at sales history. There's all the customers that have purchased this in the past. I can look at my sales orders, open sales orders for the item. Again, view them, open them up, edit them, change them as I wish. So again, we don't make you go anywhere in the program, or else in the program to do that, to be able to look at and use that data. Okay. All right, so let's see how that all comes together inside of a sales order. So to start with, just a quick thing about searching in here. Again, if I search by customer, and a customer, say, wants a copy of all of their orders that we've got in the system for them right now, I highlight all the items, I hit the print button, and I choose maybe an order confirmation, and I want to email that to them. I'll just preview it for now. And I see I've got 4 orders. And if I email it to them, they get that as a PDF sent to them. Or if I highlight, say, for instance, the required date here, so this is all the orders that are due today, so I highlight them all. These need to be shipped today, so I will hit the print button. I choose, say, an order confirmation, which I'll send and print off to my sales desk, so I'll choose the sales printer there. The pick ticket I want to send to the warehouse, so I choose the printer they have there. And if I don't want to make any changes, I can just hit the print, or if I want to save the defaults, then it'll remember the printer I chose for that. Otherwise, I hit preview or print, and the order confirmation gets sent to the sales desk, and the pick ticket got sent to the warehouse for pickings, because I want to make sure I got everything that's due today printed off so they can be picked and shipped. Okay. Again, searches. A good example of what you would use the search for inside of a sales order is, let's say your supplier has just told you that heart rate monitors are not going to come as expected this week and come next week, and you want to let your customers know. So instead of them calling you next week and say, where is my heart rate monitors that I ordered, I can now go in here and type the word heart and see every customer that has that particular item. I could have put a part number in. In this case, I put part of the description in. Double click on the first order. See that I've got the heart rate monitor on here somewhere. There it is right there. I can get to the Bill To tab, call the customer. Do we still want it? Yes, we do. Go to the next one, go to the next one. Call this person, say, maybe no, I don't want it, but I do want the rest of the order shipped to me, so I can go delete on this one, and then I can go ahead and process this order or ship it if I want to, or just go on to the next one. Of course, save that. And what I'm doing is being very proactive with my customers to let them know. And again, I did not print a report to do this. Typically, you'd have to go into the sales order mod or the reports module, choose sales orders, find a part number from and to, print it all off, and then go in, find the phone numbers of the customers and do that. I've given you all this information on one screen. Okay? Very, very easy. Again, I can search for a person's name, Jason. So any orders from Jackson will show up because Jason is one of the contacts there. Very, very easy. All right? A lot of information on this particular screen. You'll see that, there's a huge number of columns. Not everybody needs to see all this information, but it's all off to the right and kind of pushed over. So if you don't want to see it, you can push everything you don't want to see off, or again, click it, turn off anything you do not want to see. Tons of columns here. Not everybody needs this, but some people really need it. They want to know. They're very, very important for them to see the ship to name, for instance. The current GP on an order, so they can sort by that, make sure they're not falling below a margin. They want to know all the orders that are back orders. So all of these first 20 or so orders have at least one back order on it. So I can now take that and print off a report on it. So I got a back order report shows me that what I can fill and what I can't fill. If you don't want a column, shut it off. Just right click, shut it off. Okay. And of course, any columns that involve cost and gross profit are not there available for those that have security turned off for costs and profit. So, okay. Okay, let's have a look how we create a new order. So we hit new, or plus, comes up with our next order, and I can now find my customer any way I wish. J-A-C-K to find Jackson, so it finds Jackson that way, or if I type in the whole word Jackson, notice I've got more on here, but of course, probably because I've got some people in the city of Jackson or on Jackson Street. So again, it finds and looks for the customer any word you can throw at it. Jackson is listed on here as well. So, or if I type in the word Jason, which is my contact name, my two customers have the word Jason in it. Or if I wrote down on a piece of paper a phone number, so 604-249, there's Jackson Fitness there because I've got his phone number. Anything you can throw at this, any note you've got in the customer, you can find that customer any way at all. Okay, so I'm just going to find Jackson again here, pick them off the list. First thing that pops up is that note we saw in the customer that basically says that make sure that they've got no invoices over 60 days. Maybe our AR department hasn't put them on hold, but we want to keep an eye on them. So we're asking the salespeople to keep an eye on it. So typically, they would have to close this all off and go to the accounts receivable and check what's going on with this customer. But if they have access, and you don't have to give them access to this, they see this screen right here. It shows here the background is red. Well, that background can go red one of two ways. They're either over their limit, which in this case they're not because they have available credit of $14,000, or they could be over their terms. And to see that, we go to the Info tab, and we see indeed that they have some over 120 days. Now, typically we probably wouldn't take this order, but if we've checked it with our accounting department, they've said go ahead because we've got a check we haven't posted yet, we can go ahead and take this. Now, you can set it so that on a user-by-user basis that we either cannot take an order from them, or we can take the order but we cannot process it, this process button, and therefore print a packing slip, or we can process it but can't invoice it, but that's kind of silly because once it's processed and picked, you may as well invoice it because it's already been shipped. So you can set that at different levels where it blocks the order. Order type, we've got several order types that you may not be familiar with. One of them being booking orders. This is for orders for the future that you don't want to commit inventory for. So we've taken the order from maybe a trade show we did in the fall. We want to ship in the spring. We don't want to commit inventory that we're going to ship throughout the winter, but of course we don't want to forget either. So you put it as a booking order, set the date on it that you need to ship it for, and then you set yourself a filter that says, show me all my booking orders in the next X days. And you can actually set a filter called X days. So you change it to 10 days, and every time you log in, you'll just see booking orders over the next X days, and then you can just simply change them from booking to a regular sales order. Okay, we also have a rental order, which is a type of a recurring order. Quotes, of course. If you start a quote and you forget, or you start an order, you forget to make it a quote, you can make it a quote anytime you want. Standing order, if you set a standing order with a repeat cycle, you can have it repeat daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, or custom, and custom can be every Thursday, every second Sunday, the third, fourth, and fifth day of the week, of the month, however you want to customize this order. Once you've invoiced it, it comes back, sits in your system with a new invoice date, set yourself a filter again, what's due this week for invoicing, highlight all the orders, and click the invoice button right from the order list to invoice those out in one fell swoop. We've also got RMA orders. That simply is a regular order, really, with an R in front of it so you can distinguish them, or a work order. It allows you to put a W in front of it as for anything you're doing repairs on. You can set what the character is that starts with as well. At this point, you can pick their ship to location, so I can pick out their Toronto location on here. And then I've got this screen where it allows me to put in a name of a person that's placing the order with, their phone number, and their email address. If you put their email address here, it becomes one of the email addresses that I can now have access to when I email this order confirmation or quote or invoice out. But I can also have access to all of their contacts in the system, including all of their ship-tos, not just the Toronto ship-tos I chose here. I can choose any one of their other ship-tos, and if I choose one of them, it populates their name, address, phone number, their name, their phone numbers, and their email address onto this screen right here. Okay, let's have a look at how we put items on an order. Of course, we can search for items many different ways, like we did with finding customers. So I just type a letter and I can put it on here. Type in my quantity of 12. I can put this quantity over here so it's easier to get at. There's one of those items that are yellow, so now we know, oh, that's one of the items we've discontinued, so we want to make sure to tell the customer about that. So we put on another item here. I think it starts with a D, so I'll pick there, put this item on here. And then we've got something what we call packages. So if you've got a grouping of items that you sell that the customer typically buys more than one size or color of it, you can create in a kit, you can put them all together in one kit and then choose the package and then put the number quantity of the items that a person wants. So if I type in Spire, what is it, there it is, this one here, this kettlebell kit. So I sell weights and fitness equipment, and my customers typically buy more than one size off me at any given time. So if this was, say, sweatshirts, you could have put in, all the blue larges, the blue mediums, the blue smalls, the red large, mediums, smalls, all on this list, and I can just now type in the quantities. So they want 2 of these, none of those, 2 of those, 1 of these, none of those, 3 of these, none of those, and 1 of those. So after I've chosen all the quantities, I simply click OK, populates my order with all the items, and I've not had to look up them individually because I've asked the customer, what quantity they want from that screen. I can now add more items to the order. This one's back ordered. It's telling me that back. You can make it so this back order warning doesn't come up if you wish. Okay, so now when I highlight an item, it'll show me. Let's pick this item here that I've got 100 on order, 100 on hand, nothing committed, 1 back ordered, nothing on order with my supplier, but I do have a PO that I haven't closed off yet. So it still has that date on it. And so on. Each of these items gives me a snapshot down here of exactly where we're at with it. Okay. So now, what I didn't show you when I created this, that this sales order here is red. So before I complete this order, I might want to check to make sure that we haven't already got this particular sales order for this customer already. So I can click on any one of these orders, have a look to see if we go next, to see if, make sure none of these are on there. And I do see duplicates here, so I may not want to take this order. I can go to the details view and see every single item that's on all the orders this customer has. I can see that as well. But the sales history is right next to it. So I can either click the sales history or press F7, and it brings up all the items this customer has ever purchased from me from day one. I can set a filter on this, of course, if I only want to look at this year's data. But here is everything they've ever bought from me. And I can check the pricing. So here's my unit price for the item as well. So if I want to see this and I sort by part number, which I already am, I can see that they pay $34 for this item a couple of times. Same price usually. But if I look here and I find that the price isn't what I'm quoting right now, on my order I can now go ahead and accept that price, and the customer says, okay, $33, we've agreed. And he says, what if I talk to somebody else in your organization that I want to make sure I get that special price. You can now go ahead and hit store price. So I go store selected price, click OK, and that price turns green and remembers it for that customer from now on. It puts it into their price table. Okay. Again, on sales history, I can be checking everything else. Say, well, how's your stock on wrist rollers? Oh, I need some of those, so I can go add to order. And how about on these floor mats and these belt harnesses? Okay, so yeah, I want to add both those to the order, so I go add to order. Oh, sorry, I clicked on order items only. What now I'm showing is just the items I've got on this order to this customer now, if I've sold them to them in the past. What I meant to click was that weight, that kettlebell, and then go add to order, and that puts it onto the order. So I simply go back to the order now and put my quantities in I want. So they want 2 of these, 1 of these, and 5 of these. So very, very simple. Other colors on the order, notice we've got one that says that shows up the margin in red. What that means is I've fallen below the accepted margin for this item. So I may want to either change my sell price on this item here, or be checking my list prices on these items to make sure I raise my prices, because what happens is as you set your sell price at the beginning of the year or quarter, your costs start to creep up on you and you don't really notice that they're getting very skinny on the margins, but we show you right on the order that you have fallen below your accepted margin. So we allow you to either change the price here or go into the price of the item, and I can simply do that. I go look up, it brings up my inventory, I hit edit, this is the inventory edit, change my price, up the price to $35 or whatever it happens to be, and there it's at 37% margin now. Save that, close that, and I've raise my price on that without leaving my sales order in inventory, not just for this order. Now, because I've already got the item on this order, I do have to raise the price on this one as well, but it's very easy to get out the data. All right, so now let's back order a few things here. So what have we got? I got nothing. Well, I got one item back order. Let's just back order a couple more. So I'm going to back order, change the ship quantity on these ones to 0, and this one here to 0, and this one here I'll change to 1. So I got some back orders on the order now. What I want to show you here is how I create special orders from an order here. I simply click on requisition, pops up puts everything on the order, even the items are not back order, but the items that I need to order show up here. I can change these again if I wish. Otherwise, I hit process. It stamps a purchase order number on all the ones that had a quantity. There's those 3 there. And what it also did was it stamped the PO number right here on the sales order itself. So this purchase order, number 44, got linked directly to Jackson. If I move this aside, and notice we are a true windowed system. So we allow you to go into purchases while you got that open. Go into number 44. Look at the order here. And I'll see that number 18, order number 18 for Jackson for ship to Toronto had these items added. When these items get received on the purchase order, you don't go throwing them on the shelf or into inventory. You know for a fact they're for that particular customer. So now I can very easily, if a customer calls, link back, have a look at the PO, and tell him proactively whether we're going to have stock on that or not. While I'm showing you that, if I just shake this, you'll see what happens is on a Windows 8 machine anyway, it simulates going to a separate monitor. I was able to drag this over to a separate monitor. I got my main menu elsewhere. I can move this sales order over to another screen and then open up my main computer again or main screen again, open up a different order because a customer may be called about it while we're working on something else, work on this order, and then simply switch back and forth between my 2 sales orders at any given time. Well, it was the same one. Go back to this one. I can switch back and forth because we can have many orders open, many customers, many purchase orders all open at the same time, and you simply pick the one off the window that you're going to choose here. Okay. All right, I think I've shown you everything here except for processing, so let's go ahead and process this order. The process button now shows us that this customer has invoices beyond the payment terms. Credit is disabled. If I didn't have override capability, it would ask for somebody with an override password here, but I do have, so I'm going to hit override. I go ahead and print my packing slip, and again, I'll print it off and send it off to my printer in the back room somewhere and hit the print button. And then what happened to that order, that's the other one I still have open, that order now went into a status called processed. So there's one of those orders, the ones I just sent off. So my shipper now has a filter set, of course, for processed orders. And this is just an order, a filter I set called where the status is one of, and I chose just processed. So I'm just seeing my processed orders at this point. So at his desk or her desk, they don't see anything on the screen except for this screen here, and this is empty. That means they've shipped everything that's been processed. But all they need to do now is open up each one of them, look it over, check any quantities, change anything, add the ship via. If they go to the info tab, they can add in the carrier name, the ship date, and the tracking number, and then simply click the ship button. And okay, now here in case the customer is not allowed credit. So this particular customer that I chose, we cannot go. There's no credit for this customer, so I have to pick somebody else. Let's pick our Jackson that we did earlier. And I'm going to go ahead and ship this particular one. And I'm going to print off my packing slip here. That just looks like a standard packing slip. And then the order disappeared off this list. And once this is all empty, so they can go ahead and I can process all these. When this is empty, they go into a shipped status. So my accounting department, the only thing they're interested in is these ones that are marked as a ship status. They don't care about open orders that are not yet processed or quotes or anything else. Everything here is the only thing they want to see. If they trust the shipper completely, they highlight these orders. They can simply click the invoice button, invoices them as is, emails out or prints the copies of invoice or both, or if the customer has an email address, it'll email it and print the ones that don't. And then they disappear off this list and they end up being invoiced. Okay, so that's all there is to the sales order side of things. I know there's going to be more questions on that. We do have a lot more features in the sales inventory and purchasing and all that. Just briefly on purchase orders, very similar to sales. We show you the subtotal of the order, the received amount, what's remaining. So if you've got a partially received order, it shows you that. So this particular one here has some remaining on it. The received date, the required date's important because today's date are all the ones at the top, and you may want to open up each one of these individually, call a supplier, look at it, update the date if the supplier gives you a new date. While we're creating POs, which I didn't show you, was you can look at past purchase history, you can look at past sales history if there was any on those items. So again, we show you all that from inside of a purchase order as well, very much like we do inside of a sales order, but pertaining to purchasing there. So we'll look now at on the accounting. We'll start with accounts receivable. So I go into AR. This shows all my customers that owe us money. We have all the aging is on the screen here. So if I'm sorted by customer, all their aging shown here. We have future, current, 30, 60, 90, 120. So my demo database has a lot of future orders in it, but if you post-dated something, you don't want it obviously to show up in your current column, which typically it would. You'd rather have it in a future dated column so that you're doing margining for the bank. Well, maybe you do want it in there, but it is separate, just so you can see future orders here. The nice thing, of course, again, is that sort capability, so I can sort all my over 120s. So if I want to now do some collections here, of course, I can also set a filter. So I've got all my over 120s only, and I'm doing collections on these. I can then either hit the export button and print an Excel spreadsheet for all the overs, or probably what I want to do is print a statement for each one of these. So I highlight them all, print selected, choose my aging date, choose account statement selected, email them, choose the accounting department I'm going to email them to. Probably what I'm going to do here is choose a statement called, or a template called strong warning. So I've actually on my subject says account overdue in this case, and it basically says you're cut off unless you pay. You design this however you want it to be. Now, if you're the owner of the company and you want to send a statement because you happen to notice this problem with a particular customer or customers, but you're the salesperson in the office or the good guy in the office, you don't want the statement to come from you. And if I hit send mail right now, it'll come from your email address. But if I go use company email here, it'll use what's set up in the company setup, and usually that's the accounting department, and it comes from the accounting at InspireHealth.com instead of from the good guy Al at InspireHealth.com. Okay, so you can choose that on the fly as you're about to send the email message. Okay, let's turn off that filter again. Let's have a look here. We'll show last invoice, of course. So if you've got the worst kinds of accounts receivable, the ones that are in the over 120 and they haven't bought from you in months and months, you're likely not going to credit or collect it. There may be some other issues involved here. Shows what last payment amount was. So this customer looks like they've never paid. So it's a customer here that you really want to keep an eye on. Let's go back to sort here. I'm going to go into our friend Jackson. So JAC. There we go. Into Jackson Fitness. So here we have their accounts receivable, and we've sent them a statement because they're in one of our nasty statements that were in the over 120. We've got them on the phone now. They say, well, I see that, but I'm missing some invoices. I don't have copies of some of them. So I'm missing this invoice here and maybe this invoice here. So I hold my key down and highlight two of them, hit the print button, choose account statement and invoice reprint, and I'll just email that probably, but I'll just preview in this case so you can see it. So you'll see what it did there. If I take this down to full page size, there's invoice number 1 and 2, those two invoices, plus the account statement. So in one email, you sent them a copy of those two short invoices, plus the statement with the aging on it. And now they've agreed they're going to pay, but they say, oh, but there's a problem. We've got a duplicate. So we look and we see, well, yeah, there's two invoices for $952 here. So we have a look at the first one, and we see, yeah, that's the item there. Maybe they look at the PO number, and we look at the other invoice, and we look at it, and yep, okay, you're right, it does match. Okay, yeah, you're right, this should be credited. This is a double shipment, or double invoice maybe. The double shipment, of course, they should be paying. But so we've agreed to credit it. So right from inside accounts receivable, we hit the credit button. Reverses everything on the order. Now you can change this. If you're not crediting everything, you could change it. But in my case, I want to go ahead and do everything. Hit the invoice button, charge it on their account, email them a copy, which I won't in this case. Hit close off the invoice screen. Just refresh this screen now. There's that credit. We're going to apply that to this invoice here. Link them together. They're gone. We can now send them a new statement if we wish with that invoice missing from it. They've agreed to pay it. So now what we want to do is add a note. So they've agreed to pay a check next Friday. So we'll go to the note section. I've already got a note on here that I did for my last demo, so I'm just going to delete it. Yep. And I'll go new. And this is going to be payment. And I'm going to type in here that Jason says payment next Friday. Okay, so I'm going to put this here. I'm going to assign it to myself. All your users will show up on this list here. Next Friday, I'm going to put that on the 28th. Was that Friday? No, it was Saturday, 27th. And I'm going to save that. And because I assigned it to myself on that date, when I log in to Spire, anytime on or past that particular date, that's going to show up on my to-do list to remind me to call Jason about this. And not only that, when I hit the communication here, and I go to that accounts receivable, I hit open related, it opens up that, goes straight into accounts receivable here, so I can have a look. Hey, Jason, get them on the phone, have their phone number here, I got, collection information, call them. He says, okay, yeah, I wasn't able to send a check. Can I give you a credit card? Yes, great. Check, and we'll go ahead and pay it. So let's go back to the accounts receivable again, go back to Jackson for a second. Jumped around there a bit. So let's take a payment from them now. So I'm going to pay, this one, and this one. And I'm going to pay it. It comes up, and if I want to print a receipt maybe, the post automatically is, you can turn off and on. If you want to see the journal entry for it post, you can do so. Otherwise, you can check post automatically. And that default is however you set your user up. Hit the post entry screen. Journal entry comes up, and it posts it off, prints their receipt. I'll just preview this receipt, prints off a receipt for them. You can email them, and then it's disappeared from this list. Now, we've got a show closed button, so it shows all the closed information. And if I sort this by date here, and I go show expand all, I'll see that payment here that I put in listed. I'm not sure which one it is here, but one of these is the payment I put in. Invoice, payment, invoice, payment, invoice, payment. So we sort the other way around. So invoice, payment, you see there, here. So it's shown like it does in your BusinessVision now. But if I go show credits this way, I can go click this button, and now I can see the payment and all the invoices that it paid. So you get both views now. In Essentials, we only showed you this view and always indented the payment or the invoices underneath the payment. And then if you did some linking, if you linked it this way, then the aging wouldn't come out the way you expected. So this way, the aging is always perfect, exactly the way it should be, and you get to see it both ways. So very easy. Okay. Last thing I wanted to show you in here is that while you're in the customer here and you're looking at their outstanding, you can open up the customer here. You can then look at their sales history. You can look at any open sales orders. So if you're about to ship something, these two would say they've been shipped, so it's probably too late on those ones. But if you've got a processed order here, you may want to stop them from going out before you actually send them out. You may want to look at sales history, because if they're a very, very good customer and they're only a little bit overdue, you might not want to get nasty about the statement. So again, without having to print reports, you get to see all that right in here. Okay. Very quickly to accounts payable. Again, filters and searches are all the same. Future dated invoices, same thing here for post dated. Let's just have a look at paying something in here. So let's take national equipment here. Same thing applies here. I can go tick, 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 make a payment. If you've got this vendor set up to not print a check, by default it won't check this off, and you type in the the EFT number that you paid by EFT, or if If you pay online, you would type the word online. But in this case, you want to print a check on the fly for this customer, you can turn on check and it looks at the next check number. But if that check number is not correct, maybe you've used one manually, you can change that to the next check number and then go ahead and make the payment and then print the check. And then the next check number gets advanced one from where you were that particular time. So here we show our check with the 2 stubs on it. Okay, again, the same thing applies. I can go show close and show debits, and underneath of it, all the items I paid along with their payments here. Okay, view purchase order. So if I want to, let's go expand all, and I want to look at this particular purchase order, I can view the PO. This one happens to be a sales history. I think I might have one here. Go view purchase order. This one here may not, that one doesn't have a PO. This one right here has a purchase order. This one is also purchase history. Anyway, if it's not already in purchase history, like this one here, it's still sitting in the purchase order module because it's not yet closed. We show you that it's a received purchase order. You can view to the purchase order if it's not closed, or to purchase history if it's not. Again, you can click open vendor and see all your vendor information as well. All right, lastly, the general ledger. Let's have a look at the GL. We click the general ledger. What I've got, my default filter, which I've set here, is that the credit balance is not equal to 0 and the debit balance is not equal to 0. And that's this column. In other words, the year-to-date debit and credit don't, one or the other does not, well, of course they won't have a number in them, but there's a number in one of them. Therefore, this is kind of like a mini little trial balance on screen. And if I'm sorted by account here, I can see all that, see all my information. Of course, I can go into any one of them and drill down to balances and see each month's balance, drill down in on those balances if there is any. Now, let's find one with a change on it. There's a change. No, that's last year, so we don't have any there. Transactions, so there's all our transactions for that account. But I can also, of course, export this. So if I want to export this as a TB, trial balance, I can see that. And again, it printed off exact, let me just highlight that, make it nicely laid out. There's my trial balance with all the numbers on it. I can use this as my working paper or whatever. Okay. You can also take the filter off and look at all of your accounts, of course. Searches, same thing here. If I just want to see all my sales accounts, or the one with the word sales in it, there's all just my sales accounts. Or I want to set a filter, so I just want to see a certain type of account. So we'll take these 2 filters off. Those are my default ones. And I can say where the group is, one of or whatever, or the subgroup is, or the whatever. Any one of these filters you can select from here. All right. Let's go back here again. This is also where I can print my GL reports. So I've got, pick my aging that I want to choose, or not my, sorry, my current ending. So I can choose, all my different aging, or not aging again, sorry, the month end. I'll choose details in this case. I can print off all these reports at the same time, so I'll preview them. So there's my balance sheet, my comparative statement, which the first section is your balance sheet section, second section is the revenue section, my income statement, quarter to date, month to date, quarter to date percentages, year to date as well, and a trial balance. If you want to send, typically you'd be sending all that information to your year-end accountant, so I can simply click the same report again, choose your year-end date, click the email button, manually type in your accountant's email address, add in some body, hit the send mail, and you've instantly sent off all the information your accountant needs. Okay, the summary, this is just a summary of all those accounts. Transactions, this is each transaction that's come through the system. This is very, very powerful. I can now come in here and search for anything like I could elsewhere. So if I type in my customer code, Jack225, there's every transaction that I've put through the system for customer Jack225. This is their payments. This is their invoices. This is their service charges. This is credits. This is whatever I put through the system for them at any given time. I can search for a PO number or a vendor or anything at all in here. I can search for a memo. So if I type the word recurring, I've got a memo here. It's not necessarily recurring. We do recurring here too as well. But it's not necessarily an exact recurring that you do every month, but it might be something slightly different. So I create this one called recurring, bring it up, I copy it, make some changes, because if I'm doing service charges in my bank, they're not exactly the same every month, so I tweak them as I need to do them, and then I put the data I want to put on them, and then I post them just by clicking the post button. Or if it is a reversal I want to do, hit reverse. I can reverse it back to the month it was in, or I can reverse it in this month, or maybe I want to reverse it, but I don't want to reverse the rental part. I wanted to keep that, but everything else needs to be reversed, and then I hit the post then, and post just that section out of there. So again, really powerful, our searches in here. And again, export. So if you wanted to have an activity of all sales, so I can go filter, and I can say where the source type comes from, let's go with order entry. There's all my order entry, and maybe I want to choose just this fiscal year, so I choose my posted date is, let's go with fiscal year. So there's all my transactions for this fiscal year. This year I sent out to our year-end accountant, I sent out the spreadsheet instead of a PDF file. They loved it. To be able to sort and search and do all kinds of things with it, because now I hit the export button, drop it to my desktop, give it a name, open up the file. Your whole complete year-end transaction by transaction was exported to GL, perfectly laid out. My accountant this year happened to find a funny memo on one of my items, and I made a bad posting, and they drew that to my attention, which they have never have found if they hadn't been able to sort and search through this thing. So very, very, very powerful. Okay, I think that's about it.